Well then, this is going to be a busy show, folks. Make sure you're tuned in. Grant, let's get started.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Recruits Draft Cast.
With our first pick in the 2022 NHL Draft, les Canadiens de Montréal sont fiers de repêcher from the Slovakian national team and TPS Turku, Juraj Slafkovsky.
The sickest NHL draft and scouting podcast. It's gonna be sick.
For the first time in tournament history, Canada will not be playing in the semifinal games for the second year in a row. Disaster in the host country. I'm producer Shane. You know him, you love him. My co-host Grant McCagg is here as always. We have lots to discuss. Folks, I apologize in advance for my voice. I've been battling 2 illnesses in the holidays, so I'm on the upswing, but I could not miss this show because it's gonna be something.
We're both feeling sick on the Sick Podcast.
Oh yeah.
It's very appropriate.
Terrible. No, Canada has been eliminated from the World Junior Tournament in Ottawa.
Surprise.
Yeah, they lose 4-3 against the Czechs. Again, a last-minute goal against the Czechs to knock them out. Look, I don't know where to start. Actually, I do, okay? Because this show would not be possible without our wonderful sponsors, and I want to start by thanking a few of them, notably Insta Customs. Insta Customs is Canada's highest-rated custom apparel and drinkware print shop, boasting an impressive 4.9 Google star rating. Whether you need printed or embroidered t-shirts, hoodies, crew necks, hats, and more, they've got you covered. They specialize in emergency rush orders to meet your tight deadlines. While their store is conveniently located on Stanley Street, downtown Montreal, ordering online is so easy. You order today, it's printed today, pick up or ship today, so you can visit them at instacustoms.com. And we want to give a big thank you to our friends over at Cheapest T-Shirts. If you're looking for the cheapest clothing prices, you have to check out CheapestTshirts.ca, where they offer the cheapest wholesale prices on 36 top clothing brands and 941 different items. You can enjoy their unbeatable cheapest wholesale prices with no minimum order requirements. You order today, you get it tomorrow. Don't miss out on amazing savings. You can shop today at CheapestTshirts.ca. All right, Grant, I know you have a lot built up here. So do I. I think what it boils down to is the Team Canada was poorly constructed and poorly prepared. This was not the team. This was not the roster that should have been on the ice. And the guys that were on the ice were not prepared. They canceled like 3 practices. Dave Cameron said because the guys were too tired. This was a disaster through and through for this team. Where do you want to start?
Should we call up some Ottawa gas stations and ask them if they're out of gas?
Oh, yeah.
No, like Tony there one time when that was excuse for Montreal, calling them up and asking them if they're out of gas because the Canadians are out of gas. No, well, we can start with just, I was tempered in my objections with the roster when the team was named because you want to give them a chance. And even though I had serious misgivings on guys, 4 top 9 players in the draft that were drafted were not included on the team. Do you know any other nation that would do that? Like, let's go back to, a couple of years back when Zegras, Boldy, Caulfield. Imagine if those guys, like, just as a comparison, the year that they won, right? They beat Andre Tournier and they beat Canada. Imagine if they had left off And this is it equates almost perfectly. If they'd have left off Cam York, they'd have left off Zegras, Boldy, Caulfield, because no, we know better. We've got third, fourth round guy, 5'9", 5'10" guys that are going to do the job better. We know better than what the NHL scouts, what everybody sees. We know better. Like, it just, what's really, I wouldn't be coming down that hard on them if they didn't make these bold choices and they won. But at home, without Russia, for the second straight year, they don't even make the semifinals. Well, I'm sorry that after the decisions that they made, it invites criticism, and I'm going to be critical today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I just, like, what's really frustrating is that there are 32 NHL teams with at least 10 scouts on each team that scout 100 to 200 games live each year, who are paid professionals that do a damn good job of ranking and drafting players. They're not perfect, but pretty, usually pretty damn accurate. But then Hockey Canada turns around and they hire a couple of scouts to go out, watch a few games during the year, and put all of that, like, there's all that information that they could utilize. Like, the scouts, 32 teams ranked Beckett Seneca as a top 10 pick. I'm certain of it. But no, they're wrong. They're all wrong. 300 scouts are wrong, and the 2 scouts that they have on Hockey Canada are right. It's just so frustrating as a scout to see that they overthink it. Yeah. And they outsmart themselves. It's happened before. It's happening again. And it's just really frustrating. Like, I put together a B team that we put up on, here it is here. Okay. You cannot tell me that this team, that's not even okay. I sent you an updated list. Oh, that's fine. But that's pretty close. But there's a couple of guys that, anyway, it's so frustrating that they can't take the best players. They take what they, and if it had been, okay, we're going to leave a couple guys behind because we need more size, or we need more grit, or we need more defensive play, we need more checkers. But they didn't do that.
No.
They picked a whole bunch of guys that are undersized, that play on the perimeter for the most part, to fill roles that just made no sense whatsoever. They, Berkeley Catton. Do we have, I have a clip. Well, I have Braden Yeager. We'll go to that a little later. I'll talk about that later, but let's just compare the team that they lost to, Czechia, to them, their decisions and their roster makeup, okay? Now, there were 3 players drafted by NHL that were not, okay, there's been 12 players in the last 2 drafts that were drafted by the NHL, 12 Czechias. All but 3 of them were on their team, okay? Now, all 6 players, Czech players drafted in 2023 who were eligible for the World Juniors made the 2025 team. So of the 16 players, Czech players drafted that were eligible for the World Junior, 13 made the team. It's 13 out of 16 drafted by the NHL. That's 81%, okay? Conversely, 2 of the 3 top, 3 eligible top 20 Canadian picks from the 2023 draft were left off the team. Okay? including one who played last year and had 4 points, Matthew Wood. Now, we have a clip of Matthew Wood here. 4 points would have led Canada in scoring at this event, by the way. But he didn't fit the profile of being 5'10". Look at this goal he scored against Czechia in the semifinals last year. Two college players have more points than him this year in NCAA. He was a returning player. He's 6'4", which they needed. He's great on the power play, which they needed. He's only one of 2 guys that scored goals in that semifinal game, which they needed. And they cut him because they needed Matthew Cataford and Bradley Nadeau, and they needed 5'10" guys on the outside. That's what they needed. That was going to win it for him instead of a guy one of the only guys that scored for him last year. Look at that shot. Tell me that they couldn't have used a guy with his sniping ability.
I can't.
But, well, it's again, they overthought it. They overthink, and it's just mind-boggling. A top 20 NHL pick, 19 years old, top 20 in scoring, top 15 in scoring in college, and he's not good enough for. He played last year, and they leave him off the team. Like, it just, I can go on and on. Like, there were no duos. Like Seneca, Barlow, and Richie are a line.
Yeah.
Right? With familiarity. Barlow has 134 CHL goals. That's more than any other player in the friggin' that could have played at the World Juniors. He was great at the Helenka when he played for Canada. There's familiarity there. They could have had a line that plays together all the time, just like, what's the best line in the World Juniors? One that plays together all the time, right?
Wow. Shocker.
And they, familiarity, and hey, they're great at the World Juniors. Leonard.
Canada could have had another duo in Martin and Raykop, but they swapped the two. They swapped them in and out of the lineup.
Right. They could have had Aginla and Crystal.
Yeah.
They could have had Parasak and Jaeger. Who ended up taking them all the way. Just a sec here. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Could have taken them all the way. Like, it boggles the mind. So they had no duos, right? And Aginla, we have a clip here of Aginla's last game. I got thinking about it and did a little more digging. Like, it was weird that he hadn't missed any games. This is his last shift with a minute left on November 30th, okay? He does not get injured. He seems to be skating fine. There he is right there, number 11 in white. So he doesn't get hit, doesn't get hurt. So what he was doing was playing through an injury and holding off surgery. Do you know why he was doing that?
Why was that?
So that he could play for Canada at the World Juniors. Their next game was December 6th, right? Canada named the roster about December 2nd or so. December 4th, he announces that he's having season-end surgery. That's not just a coincidence.
Yeah.
He was going to play through. Tell me that that's not a warrior. Tell me that's not a guy that you wouldn't have wanted on the World Junior team.
He got picked 6th overall for a reason.
Well,
that's a heck of a player. I want him on my team.
He's a great goal scorer. Tell me he wouldn't have been good on their power play. But no, we've got 4 top 9 draft picks that we can't have them on the team. It makes no sense whatsoever that they chose this team and then put all these guys in the wrong roles. Luca Pinelli is a fine, Canadian junior hockey player, but he should not have been in a top 6 role at the World Juniors. I just like Berkeley Catton. We'll get into it a bit later, but they went with guys who just weren't going to be able to fight through, like Dvorak, Juracek, these guys. They just weren't going to be able to fight through them and get to the dirty areas, which you have to do in the medal round. It's a battle. Yeah. And I don't understand why, Seneca, who was the best player in the OHL playoffs last year, who's 6'3", should prove that he's a big game player in the playoffs against Ottawa 67s, doesn't get picked for the team. And just all of the worries that I had going in about the roster creation, and then what ended up happening, it was like exactly what I feared. And so, it's so frustrating. Braden Yeager, let's play. To me, he was the best player by far on Canada.
I agree.
And he played 14 shifts in the first period. I got the spotlight on him because I want there to be some positive from here. Winnipeg, you have yourselves a gamer.
Absolutely.
He's a future middle line center that is going to help you win hockey games. I absolutely loved his play in this game. But the only adjustment Cameron made was finally putting McKenna on the top line at the end of the game. That was it. But he would not take Catton out of the second line center spot and put Yeager there. Like, he had 14 shifts in the first period here. And even Bob McKenzie said, like, best player on the ice. Mm-hmm. I tweeted it out. It was obvious. He was fantastic. Fantastic away from the puck. Fantastic with the puck. He was skating harder than anybody. He was checking harder than anybody. He was making way more plays than anybody. He was on his game. Here he is with a breakaway here. And then
nice pass.
And then this pass was perfect. And that's shorthanded. That got them back in the game. So 14 shifts in the first period. You know what? He had 15 the rest of the game. Okay. This is a guy that has 20 WHL playoff goals and took Moose Jaw to the WHL championship last year. Look at these moves. Like, look at him. He was just on his game. And the Memorial Cup berth, okay, named him captain of the team and kept him in a third-line center role the entire tournament.
Yeah.
Even though he was way better than Catton, who got 1 point in the tournament, no goals. He was way better than Callum Ritchie. It wasn't even close. And they couldn't bump him up. He should have been playing with McKenna and whoever. I don't know who the third guy, I guess Cowan, but
Oof.
Cowan was a little better, but he had a disappointing tournament too. The top scorers, it's got to be a record for them that the top scorers on the team had 3 points, 2 guys. It's unacceptable. But Yeager in this game stepped up and, 20 WHL playoff goals. Catton has been in 2 playoff series in the WHL, was swept in both of them, and has no playoff goals in the WHL. And they made the decision, yes, you're the guy that's going to play top 6 role. You're the guy that's going to fight through checks, even though you're 5'10", even though you're a year younger than Yeager, even though you're not known as a guy that goes to the dirty areas. You're going to go to the World Juniors and you're going to do the exact opposite of what I expected he'd do. It's almost like they sabotaged the team. This team should not have lost in the semifinals at home. Did you see the crowd when they actually scored and they got back in the
Yeah.
You know, how uplifting was that? That they were ready to just, you know, do the same thing that they did in 2009, help lead them to there was his other setup there. Like, look at the Jaeger, every one of these. Look at this
Yeah.
again. He could have had about 5 points if they'd have had, I don't know, if he'd have been playing with Iginla and Seneca, maybe. And then there, he knocks the puck away. Every one of these shifts, he did something. And that's just about every shift of the game. But, you know, Nadeau, another guy that disappointed, 2 points in the tournament. He stayed in this top 6 role the whole time. Martin, that third line was their best line.
Yeah.
So why didn't they get to play more? Why didn't they promote? Look at all the plays he made. He was absolutely amazing. It was one of the best World Junior games that I've seen from a Canadian ever. And like I say, 7 shifts in the third period. He had 14 in the first. He was obviously feeling it. He was the guy. And no, we got to win with my own guy, Pinelli, Catton, and Nadeau, who are all 5'10", who aren't known to battle. You know, they're good players, good skilled players, but it just I don't know why they decided that they couldn't go with any size on the, you know, in the top 6. Czechia, again, going back to Czechia, I did their top 6 versus Canada's top 6 size wise. Okay, Czechia's top 6. Get this now, 6 foot and 2/3 was their average height, and scored 39 points. Canada's top 6, 5'10" and 2/3, so 2 inches shorter per player, and 11 points. 39 points versus 11 points. That sums it up right there.
Jeez.
I'm not blaming the players.
No.
You know, they played up to their capabilities. They played about as I expected them to play. But Czechia had a bigger team. They had a bigger team in the top 6. They wore them down. They had guys that could fight to the dirty areas. And Canada didn't. And that was obvious going into the tournament. And I'm not surprised in the least. I don't know about you, but I was worried about them being able to beat Czechia, and it pretty much went down just as I expected it to go down. So, not surprised, disappointed as usual, but not surprised.
And, you know, I think it's a perfect time to address this. There's a lot of people that are taking it up to themselves and going on social media and attacking the players. Like, I know Cowan got railroaded on Instagram, you know, and I want to address that. Like, if I'm talking to you right now and you recognize yourself, I mean, that's pretty low. You know what I mean? These are kids. They're 19, 18, some 17, right? Like, relax. It's clearly not their fault, right? The people you should be looking at and pointing fingers to are Dave Cameron and Peter Anholt, right? Head coach and general manager, who today still claim that there are no regrets and they would do the exact same thing the exact same way, and that's just how the tower falls or whatever. Like that is ridiculous. That's crazy. Clearly you didn't build a team that was going to win. You lost against Latvia. There's no excuse for that. Like, Latvia was fantastic this tournament, right? The goaltender, Feldsberg, amazing. Eric Smateko, wow. Tied for lead for the goals. Great story. Still, there's no reason why Canada should lose to Latvia. Come on, right?
No.
And to not even make the semifinals for 2 years in a row. Hockey Canada has to look themselves in the mirror here. All right. They are to blame, not the players. The players did what they had to do. Sure. Took some bad penalties, right, against the US mostly. But again, this team was not assembled to win. I don't know what they were assembled for, but this is what the people call a galaxy brain, right? They just they wanted to go outside the box. No. They went outside the stratosphere here. Like, this was ridiculous. Awful.
Well, like I said, 81% of Czech's players that drafted, not even like drafted top 3 rounds, but 81% of the players drafted in the last 2 years were at that tournament. Okay. There were 12 Canadian players drafted in the top 20 of the past 2 drafts. 4 of them made the team. So 33% of the players that were eligible that could have played, not talking about Celebrini and not talking about Lindstrom and guys that
Bedard,
were injured. And okay, we're talking about 12 guys that could have played that were top 20 picks from the past 2 drafts. They took 4 of them. Like, it's just, we know better.
Whatever, man.
We know better than 300 NHL scouts. We know better that, like, it's frustrating. I bit my tongue when the team was named, because I said, like, none of these guys, they all deserve to be named. I wouldn't have picked them all to make the team, but invite them to camp. They deserve that. But wow, and there was no backup plan for Schaefer getting hurt. They didn't have.
Yeah.
Why did they not have multiple power play guys, especially when you've got a roster of 25? Get some specialists there. If there was if they had a problem, I'm not sure what their problem was with Seneca, but if they thought, well, 5-on-5, maybe we're a little concerned. Well, okay, I don't agree, but at least have them for the friggin' power play then. Have a specialist, You can dress an extra guy. You can dress extra players. Well, have a couple specialists. And then if there's an injury to like Schaefer, and all of a sudden you don't have a power play quarterback that's legit, well, you still got Yakimchuk or Perek.
Yeah.
But no, neither of them. Yakimchuk was the last cut of the Ottawa Senators this year.
Yeah.
He's 19 years old. He's big boy. He's mean. But Sawyer Mignot and Boaki, and who are fine, serviceable junior players, but there's no special identity to these guys. There is with Carter Yakimchuk. There is with Zane Perek. No other team is leaving Zane Perek or off the team, or a Carter Yakimchuk or a Beckett Seneca. Nobody, just like there are no the US isn't leaving a bunch of top 20 picks off the team. They're playing. If Czechia would have had any top 20 picks, you think that they wouldn't have been playing? The 3 guys, 1 player chosen in the top 98 of the draft from Czechia of the last 2 drafts didn't play. In Canada, 9 of the 12 top 20 picks weren't invited. So it's overthinking it. And this has to stop. Take the best play. Like, is it, we want the nicest guys, or the, that are going to listen to the coach, or like, I don't quite understand. Like, your job is to coach, is to get the best out of the talent that you have. Well, give them the most talent and coach them. Don't try to pick, they'll listen to me better. I know this guy. So, well, yeah, you know him, but you also saw last year in the playoffs that Pinelli got 1 point against Oshawa and Seneca got 8, and you got swept. But you picked your 5'9" guy over the 6'3" top 3 pick. Like, I know I keep going back to that, and I seem to be piling on Pinelli. Pinelli actually, he played hard yesterday. He had a couple of, but everything was to the outside.
Right.
They never penetrated, like that line. I'd like to see. I didn't have time. I've been researching since last night. I was up till 1 and then at it all day again today just to get to the, I needed another day, but I would love to see the chart, and I'll get to see it, of where all the shots came from, especially that line, the Nadeau, like Berkeley Catton. Did he have a shot in they kept saying, oh, he's getting lots of chances. He is, but was anything within 15 feet of the net? Everything was, to the outside. Wasn't anything in the crease area, in the dirty area. So it just, absolutely no surprise that this happened, but as far as I'm concerned, it was completely preventable.
Oh yeah. And to me, the fact that this was in Ottawa, right? This was on home turf. The fans that paid a big price to go see these games deserve a refund, and it should come straight out of Dave Cameron's pocket. That coach's challenge yesterday, right? How can you explain that? How can you okay, Grant, you talked about the roster construction, right? The lines were all messed up, and he had Braden Yeager on the third line. All that, we know is awful. But the coach's challenge, how can you even explain that? The ref just said there's no goal because of goaltender interference, and then you challenge the call that he just made. He just watched the footage. He's never going to get that. And then you go on the penalty kill, of course.
He never touched the puck. He ran into the goalie. The net came off the moorings. Like, there were about 4 reasons why only one of them had to be fact, and it wasn't, but they looked at it and said, "Oh no, all 4 of those things are in our favor, and they're going to overturn it." Like, I'm biased towards Canada, but I said to Tina right then, "Oh, that's not a goal." It wasn't a goal. But the ref who called it no goal on the ice is going to look at that and say, "Gee, yeah, they're right. All 4 things are, the net wasn't off the mooring before it crossed the line." That was crazy. And, getting back to, backup plan, Baudouin getting kicked out. Who was the physical guy to take his place? If a Baudouin got kicked out of the medal game, what was their backup plan for that?
I guess it was Gibson, but he also got a knee penalty that cost them the game.
There was not that physical presence in the lineup. You hope maybe Martone, but he's a draft eligible kid. You couldn't be expecting him to. There was not one 19-year-old big physical forward on the team. Not one. Their big physical forward was 18-year-old Baudouin. And he's not the best skater in the world. And that was their, that was supposed to be the guy. Like, even Liam Greentree, yes, he has his warts and stuff. But when he's on his game, you can't. On the cycle, down low. Funny, last night he scored 5 points, 5 more points, Again, a top 30 pick. Every other team in tournament would have had him on the team. Tell him, look, this is your role. You're playing a bottom 6. We want you to go in the corners, use that size, play a hard game. And no, they had to instead go with 5'10" guys out of place that may have had lots of character and may score lots of points in junior hockey, but they weren't going to win you a gold medal at the World Juniors. It just, you could just see by the roster makeup that it just wasn't going to happen. And I mean, Sweden would have, if they'd have won that game, Sweden would have blown their doors off them in the semifinals.
Yeah.
Way better team. And shouldn't. If you had the right players, it shouldn't be a way better team. But when you compare the rosters and the size difference, the size skill of Sweden versus what Canada put out, it just wasn't made to win championships. It was made to, I don't know, to beat Germany by a goal or whatever. It just, anyway, they got what, I'm not at all surprised by what happened, but as usual, disappointed.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to explain the situation here. Disaster in Canada. You know what is not a disaster, however, and very reliable, is the people at Sport Buff. Okay, Sport Buff is the place where you can shop all your sport licensed lifestyle apparel, including hoodies, caps, and tees of your favorite teams from all major leagues at sportbuffshop.com. All right. And if you use code SICK10, you can get 10% off all their items. So sportbuffshop.com. And if you're looking for a hat trick in real estate, Team MKProp RE delivers every time with 5-star Google reviews, professional photography to make your property shine, and unmatched West Island expertise. Helen and Franco's award-winning service guarantees that your real estate journey is a winning play, whether you're buying or selling. You trust the team that makes every move a success. Call Helen and Franco at 514-915-1750. All right. I think we'll move on from Canada. We got that out of us. Feels better now, but doesn't really. We'll move on to the semifinals here. Going to be happening tomorrow. First match is Sweden against Finland, and afterwards USA against Czechia. Let's start Sweden-Finland. Grant, you've been on this since the first game here. Goaltender Petteri Rimpänen has been the best goaltender of this tournament. .941 save percentage, 2 goals allowed per game, 4 wins in his 5 games. He has been phenomenal. So he's going to be very important for Finland if they want a chance to win. And then, on the other side, right, the tournament's leading scorer, Axel Sandin Pellikka, 9 points in 5 games. He keeps trucking along. Sweden's a big, heavy team. They're very talented, like you mentioned. So what can we expect out of this matchup?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Is Niemi going to be suspended for the next game because of?
Haven't heard about it.
Probably will be, right? I think that's a big hole for Finland because he's definitely one of their best, if not their best defenseman, all-around defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
That, if they're going to be relying on Kiviharju to play 30-plus minutes or whatever against that big Swedish team, it's going to be tough. Rimpänen will be standing on his head.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sweden wins, but that goalie, they can steal one game. He's just they were outshot in their last game and won in large part because of the goalie again. He's been dynamite, and I really think that he's got to be on draft list now. I would think you get to the 5th, 6th, 7th round, and you want a goalie that stops pucks and wins games. Well,
there you go.
Yeah, he's only 6 foot, but Gajan was a top picked goalie in the draft, and he was passed over once before. Yes, he's taller, blah blah blah, but I don't see why this kid can't get a look at this year's draft. Love him, but I love Sweden's got some real. That Wahlberg kid has really developed into he's going to be a really good NHLer. Great pick by Buffalo. It's funny. I was saying to a scout the other day, they've had like 7 top 14 picks in the last 6 years. And he he might be better than all of them. You know, him and Kulich better than all of them. But yeah, he looks like the real deal. Eklund, what a little ball of fire he is. We're gonna talk a bit more about him in a while, but Edstrom gets in front of that net. He's always in front of the net front presence, and he's disturbing things. Stenberg, and you go on and on. They've got a really strong lineup and solid defense. Willander next year, he already looks good, but he's got another year, so next year he'll be dynamite. And of course, Sandin Pellikka keeps piling up the points. It's him and Cole Hudson are in a big race there for the it'll be interesting to see who ends up with the most points. Mm-hmm. So that's usually how they pick the top defensemen. So it might come down to those two. They're about the same size, so same defensively. So it's interesting, but I see Sweden is likely having the shots advantage and the play advantage, but and they've got a good goalie too, though. So it may come down to which goalie has the better game. Finland always plays hard. They've got some good players too, so I expect, as usual, those are usually great matchups, those two teams. Mm-hmm. And it'll likely be a tight game. I wouldn't even be surprised if it ended up going to the dreaded shootout, which I hate at any level. But especially in medal rounds, I could just, at least the gold medal game, they don't do the same format. And I think it's 10 minutes in the medal round of 3-on-3 as opposed to 5. So it's usually decided, but I hope there's no shootouts in the semis.
No, me neither. It's a terrible way to end a game unless you're Jonathan Toews. Yeah. That was a worthy shootout, but again, that's one example. So most people aren't Jonathan Toews. We'll just say that.
Toews wants to come back, huh?
I saw that, yeah. Part of me thinks that the career is not over yet. Ooh.
Well, I can think of, at least one team that could use Jonathan Toews in the lineup. There's probably about 30.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
What a player. Well, I don't know. Maybe Kent's on the phone. We'll see. We're throwing it out there into the universe. He was at the Bell Center recently too, so maybe he was doing a little pre-scouting for himself, seeing his future teammates. I don't know. One can dream. Grant, before we move on to USA Czechia, might as well get to our PBS draft prospect of the week because he plays on Team Sweden. The PBS draft prospect of the week is brought to you by Priority Business Services. They are your preeminent independent Bell store. They provide cellular sales, Bell TV, internet, and home services. They specialize in large IoT deals, Internet of Things. So if you are about to launch a project, call them at 613-432-7533, or you can email them at gcottenham@prioritybusiness.ca. They offer city service with small town values. You've mentioned him already. Our PBS draft prospect of the week is Victor Eklund.
Yeah, I showed his points here first. Then we got a few puck battles to show, but there was the big. He sets up shop in the middle and got a great shot on net that Edstrom buried the rebound. But there was a nice setup there too. But I absolutely love this kid's motor, his battle, his competitiveness. He's almost like a little bigger, little more skilled version of Brendan Gallagher. like that type of competitive spirit. There was again, in the dirty area, right? If you're not in the dirty area, you don't get the garbage goals. But he was right there, took the shot in the back and put her in. But I've noticed all year, like playing against men, he just battles. Doesn't matter what size you are, he battles. There again was that shot from the slot that ends up getting a rebound assist again. He's very good on the power play. There he is. Where is he? Setting up shop in the middle. Beautiful tip there.
Mm.
Absolutely perfect redirection. That beats any goalie. That goalie's a Senators draft pick. He's good. Got a piece of it and still put her in. But
yeah,
now here are some puck battles. Just he gets knocked down, he gets right back up. He's, Chumbawamba. He could be in that song. I get knocked down, I get up again.
yeah.
They could just show videos of him, but he every one of these, it just never say die. Look at the size difference here, and he gets in. No, I'm getting the puck out. Never stops battling. I love he's the most competitive player in this draft class, I think. And when you add in his skill level, his shot, his smarts, and the fact that he's playing men's hockey already and contributing, makes him a very, very strong possibility for the top. Not how many times he gets knocked down, but he gets right back up again.
Yep.
And ends up with the puck. Fish it out, get it out. Just saw that over and over again in the tournament. And yes, he has 2 goals, 4 assists, and he's in the top 20 scoring in his draft year as a 17-year-old. That's all very impressive. But when you combine that with just how hard he competes, it makes him a top 10 prospect. And I even saw, like, Bob McKenzie put out a list there yesterday, like in intermission, and had him mentioned top 5. I wouldn't argue with that. Like, yeah, he's only 5'11". Yes, he's a winger, but he's got that special quality where his competitiveness is 10 out of 10. So whenever you've got an elite quality, he's kind of like the Zach Benson of this draft class, but maybe even one notch above that. And so we saw Benson made the NHL right off the bat, despite his size.
Yeah.
And I could see Eklund playing pretty quickly after he's drafted, perhaps even next year.
Wow. If he's anything like his brother, I mean, I think that a lot of NHL teams would be more than willing to draft Victor. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So Victor
Hagen's,
Eklund. Yep.
Yeah. Hagen's won it last week, and he's still, he was in the running again. I wanted to go with a player at the World Juniors, and but in the last 4 games, Eklund had 6 points, and then you see the battle too. So it was close between those two, but Priority Business Services draft prospect of the week, Victor Eklund.
Absolutely. Well deserved. Moving on to the next and final semifinal game between the U.S. and Czechia. Obviously, the U.S., right? You mentioned James Hagens already and Cole Hudson, both leading the U.S. with 8 points in 5 games. They've been phenomenal. The U.S., I mean, they're a offensive powerhouse, really. They're just going to stuff goals down your throat and hope that's enough. But that should be a really fun game.
Yeah. It'll come down to goaltending, I think, again, if Hrabel can play up to his capabilities, Czechia stands a chance. But he's going to have to be really good because the U.S. gets multiple high-end danger chances every game. They're just so good on the transition, on the stretch pass. You know, they've always got guys going, looking for the stretch pass and getting opportunities, 2-on-1s, breakaways. It's just every game, and they're so skilled and fast that they'll get their chances, and it's going to have to be a huge game from Dvorak, Juracek, Rabel, the back end. They'll have to be play the game of their lives to beat this U.S. team, because you gotta say that they're favored.
Most likely. But we'll all find this out tomorrow, and then afterwards we'll know who will be playing for the gold medal game. Will it be a rematch from last year? U.S.-Sweden could very well be. That would be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that. We're going to talk about that on next Friday's show, because this Sunday's show is reserved for the Habs. We might mention the World Juniors as well. We make the rules. It's our show, okay? But we usually don't talk Habs on Fridays. However, today's an exception, because Ivan Demidov is doing things that I don't think either of us have ever seen before. He just had another 2-goal, 1-assist game. He's got 9 points in his last 5 games, where he's averaging 15 minutes on ice. Shocker. I think my math equation from last show proved to be correct, and I think Rottenberg may have listened in. So let's have a look at some of Ivan's highlights, because I've been watching them all day. He was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, these are his points, but here's the goal that, like,
come on.
He's done the exact same thing once earlier in the year, pretty much the exact same thing. But how do you stop it?
You can't.
Well, isn't that something? I can't even describe it. It's just like beyond skilled. And then this one.
Wow.
So we know he's played a little wiffle ball,
but that's such a smart play.
Baseball.
He waits until the puck
it's under the crossbar,
goal post.
Exactly.
And he taps it in.
And then I'll just get behind the goalie here. Ding. That wasn't. Imagine they had a look at that. It was close.
It was, but I think it would have counted.
Yeah. So they're up 4-3, and hey, look who's on the power play. And what happens? He sets up another goal. He's over on the right here. We get the puck back to him. He played 18 and a half minutes today. I think that's his most of the season. Look at that pass, eh?
Yep.
But in the 5 games since the Habs brass paid the visit, more than 15 minutes every game, 6 goals, 5-game goal scoring streak, 9 points. He's now up to 3.92 points per 60 minutes, which for a just turned 19-year-old playing in the KHL, it's mind-boggling. It really is. But look at he doesn't look, freezes the defenseman and the goalie, and then Buddy just stuffs it in there. But 3 more very impressive points. He's now tied for 29th. He's back in the top 30 in scoring, and that's playing under 12 minutes a game. It's funny when you look at the scoring leaders, and it's 19, 18, 19, 20, the minutes played, all the way down. One guy under 15, and it's Demidov at 11 something per game that he's playing, and he's top 30. And as a rookie, just turned 19 in the KHL. So Habs, get ready. You're gonna have a superstar on your hands there down the road.
Yeah. Could you imagine if he was at the World Juniors? I mean, wow. He would be smoking through this tournament.
Yeah, he would.
Oh, wow.
Russia would be playing in the semifinals right now.
Yeah.
He was there.
Yeah, big time. Anyways, we thought we had to show this because it was just crazy and it happened today. So, Ivan Demidov, keep doing what you're doing, my friend. That is it's impressive stuff. That'll about do it. But before we head out, Grant, of course, we have to tell you all about Betway. Okay, you can go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. You can scan that QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario, and you must be 18 plus. Please play responsibly. Might as well do a little sick pick today.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
To go over to Chicago for the Habs against the Hawks. Give me over 6 goals. I want a Hudson point and a Doc point because he's playing against his brother and against his former team, and the second line is heating up. That is my parlay for today. Those are my sick picks. All right, Grant, it's been a fun show.
Yeah.
Something?
Do I not get to ever do the sick pick or what? Like,
you got to send them early. You got to send them early, or else
yeah. Okay. No,
next one's yours.
I've never been asked.
Okay.
Did like Betway say that guy? I want that guy making the picks, not that guy. I mean, they're probably right because I don't bet or have never bet, but I don't mind.
All right.
I don't mind. I don't mind coming up with a. I mean, I've always got an opinion on something, so I might as well have an opinion on who you should bet for. Amazing. Okay, next time.
Yeah.
So next Friday? Is it Friday that you do it usually?
We could do a Sunday if you want.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll come up with something.
There we go.
And if I start getting them right, I'll probably start betting. So, hey, I could have won $5 yesterday.
As soon as you start putting money on it, they start to fail.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. That'll do it for us today. Thank you all for tuning in, and make sure you're following Sick Podcast, Recruits Draftcast, and on Twitter, SickPod NHL Draft. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the good stuff. We are everywhere, okay? But we recommend YouTube because we do show videos and you can see our faces. So that's always nice, depending on who you ask. For Grant McCagg, I'm producer Shane. We'll be back Sunday for our Habs Prospect of the Week show as per usual. Enjoy the weekend, folks. Stay safe. Don't get sick like me, but do watch the Sick Podcast. Take care, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Recruits Draftcast on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.